Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Before we get started, I urge you to share the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast. Spread the show. It's how we grow. Make sure you're subscribed so you can catch new episodes. And give us a good rating and review if you would. It helps us climb the charts. So today we have show favorite back on the line, Dr. Coffee. What's up, man?
Hey, I learned something this week. Nice to talk to you, by the way.
Well, what's going on? What did you learn?
I was studying some history, getting ready for Thanksgiving, so I was reading on the history of Thanksgiving, and then I got back into history even more, and I found out that, you know, the words BC, they stand for before coffee.
The time before coffee? It was a dark, dark period?
Absolutely. I don't care what the historians say. That's what BC stands for, before coffee.
Yeah, that's called the Dark Ages in the world of Dr. Coffee. It was the tumultuous times, for sure. Well, here we are. We're here. We're caffeinated up. We're drinking our coffee. Now, speaking of which, mostly we talk about on this show, we talk about treating coffee as a medicinal brew. And mostly when you're drinking coffee with the mind state that we have on this show, you're usually drinking it black, but not always, you know what I mean? And most people aren't usually drinking it black, so that's what we're focusing on today. We're focusing on things that you add to your coffee. We're talking about not coffee additives specifically and only restricted to, artificial additives. We're talking about everything. Milk, cream, stevia, sugar. We're going to go over the whole list. Sound good, Dr. Coffee?
Oh, it sounds great. I'm excited about that. I happen to know a thing or two about things you can put in your coffee.
Perfect. Well, let's start with the common ones, the easy ones. I want to talk about milk. I want to talk about cream and creamer, all the fats that we add to our coffee. If you could kind of go over the list and then give your medical opinion on whether or not they're a good choice for us health-conscious coffee consumers.
It's a big list. I don't know if you know how big of a list this is going to be, because when we talk about milk, we have many different kinds of milk. So milk no longer comes just from a cow, but we'll start with cow's milk, and then we'll move from there. So with cow's milk, we've got cow's milk, low fat, no fat, 2% whole milk, half and half, heavy cream. We've got that whole range. Now, when you're going to make a regular coffee that you're going to add a dollop to, then whole milk seems to be the tastiest because it seems to have that consistency that people are looking for. 2% or no fat milk is much more watery in consistency, so it doesn't give the mouthfeel to the coffee that a lot of people like. When you're going to make a latte, the lower fat, for some reason that I won't explain because it's too scientific or technical for me, that low fat froths better than something that has higher fat in it. So
that also makes sense.
Yeah, so with a latte, you want to use like a low-fat milk. Now, if you're looking to give yourself that mouthfeel, and you also want to slow the absorption of caffeine, then there are two things that you can add, and one of them is butter.
Yes. Very, very common now, people adding butter to their coffee.
Yeah, the Bulletproof Coffee guy has really done a good job on explaining why use butter. What we want to make sure, though, is that you get a good butter, or you can use ghee, Ghee, which is the Indian
clarified.
version of what
it's
they
the
do.
clarified butter. And you're so right. You know, when it comes to all these dairy products, I don't want to lead you, but this is certainly something that I've observed over the years. It's just like coffee in that not all milk is created equal. You know what I mean? Not all butter is created equal. You go get yourself a grass-fed local butter, that's going to be totally different than your crappy, big box store butter.
Absolutely. So what you'd want to do, you don't want to overdo it when you use butter, but you want to put in a little bit of butter and you want to blend it pretty well or stir it pretty well. And you want a grass-fed butter is correct.
What do you think of putting butter in your coffee? Do you ever do it? Do you think it tastes good, or what are your thoughts personally?
Um, I do not do it. I know that there are all these healthy reason hacks to do it.
Right.
But since I really strive to stay on the lower cholesterol side, I choose my healthy fats very carefully when I want to use them, and butter is not one of them.
Nice. Cool. I love that answer.
There's some of us that do good with lactose and some that don't.
100%. Yeah. And even fats, like for me, those heavy fats, I'll burn right through them. Someone like my wife, she gets slowed down by that sort of thing. I think it really does depend on your body and your metabolism and your genes and your blood type and all this stuff. But yeah, you're so right though. No matter what you're choosing, going for that higher quality level is definitely key.
Yeah, so we should have started off by telling everybody to grab a pencil and paper, because there are some tidbits today that people may want to pick up. I'm going to give one of those tidbits now.
Hit me.
Go to your grocery store and buy a can of organic evaporated milk.
Okay.
Organic evaporated milk.
Huh.
And try your coffee with some evaporated milk. You put the milk into the coffee cup. You can either warm it on the stove with a little pan, or you can put the coffee cup in the microwave for 22 seconds and then pour that into your coffee. I think out of all the dairy stuff I've tried, that's got to be my favorite.
Whoa, interesting. Evaporated milk. Is that like powdered milk? Is it the same thing?
No, it's not. It's a can of liquid milk. It's evaporated, so there's less water in it, and it's used for baking.
Oh, no kidding.
But people will really find, so there are 12 ounces in a can, and each ounce in Weight Watchers is about 2 points.
Interesting.
But you'll find that it really is just a great feel in all sorts of ways. The taste is good. The mouthfeel is good. Now, if you don't want to use dairy products, then there are all the non-dairy milks out there.
I like a good almond milk in coffee. It's probably if there's no cow's milk in the fridge, that's my next choice.
So when I did a survey, almond came in third.
Oh, interesting. And I do know there's a whole side to the almond production that's scary. So make sure you look into that and, look comfortable with those practices. But I'm interested, what are the top 3 in the survey, or just the results of the survey?
So the results of the survey showed that the number one that people like was hazelnut milk.
Whoa.
It's got a nice, creamy feel to it. It really acts like regular milk when you put it into coffee, and it's got this very much forward hazelnut sweetness, especially if they've added sugar to it.
Wow.
But hazelnut milk was the number one. The number 2 was not even a nut. It was oat milk. And I was very surprised when I did the survey, because oat milk turned out to be what most people liked if they didn't like the taste and flavor of hazelnut.
And what do you think about oat milk as far as the health? Do we get a pass on oat milk? That's why people are drinking it, for health reasons.
Yeah, I think that it's very good, because there's no gluten in milk, so you don't even have to have a debate with somebody as to whether or not they need to be gluten-free with oat milk. So, you hit a home run there. Oats do bring down cholesterol. Oats are a form of a carbohydrate, so if you're trying to stay ketotic and low carb, then, you're going to sacrifice some of that with oat.
Interesting.
The third one was almond, and the fourth one was flax. And most people don't even know about flax. They always thought about soy milk and and then when they try flax, they're like, "Oh, I like this a lot better than soy."
Right. Yeah. Soy milk. Man, I mean, I know that's another subject where, listen, I mean, doctors are still arguing over whether or not an egg is good for you, right? Where there's lots of complexities to these types of arguments, but one thing that I'm seeing more and more is doctors recommending that you don't consume a whole ton of soy and soy milk and soy products. Are you kind of seeing that to be the case? Not exactly all the way across the board, or maybe so?
Yeah, so I've never been a fan of using a lot of soy. We've talked about this on podcasts before. The Asian world learned how to use soy. They turned it into tofu. They turned it into miso.
Fermented.
They turned it into a fermented product.
Right.
They did not, eat a lot of edamame or crushed soy to make milk from it. I think soy competes with certain hormones in the body.
Yeah.
And
There are studies on
can
that,
also,
right? Yeah, that's not
yeah,
good.
I think it can also change how the thyroid functions. So I'm not a big soy user personally or recommender. But you mentioned something that's going to turn some heads. You said something like egg. You used the word egg in a phrase. And
Oh,
I
boy.
want you to know that there are people, especially in Norway, that add a raw egg to their coffee. If your viewers, if our listeners can try this one, let me know how you liked it. It's not for everybody, but it's really not as disgusting as you might expect. The yolk in the egg gives a real nice mouthfeel for the coffee, and it's an emulsifier.
Wow.
So it really is pretty interesting to drink it. Plus, you get the protein of the egg. Now,
Yeah, it's like the
I don't want
Rocky
anybody-
special.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't want anybody to come back and sue me if they get
Salmonella.
salmonella.
Yeah, you gotta proceed at your own caution with the raw egg. But I gotta tell you, I'm not surprised by this because I was just recently watching a really great YouTube channel. I'm gonna shout this out. For some reason, I feel like people who listen to this show would like this YouTube channel. It's called Townsend's. TOWNSENDS. And it's this goofy guy who just lives his life like it's the 1700s, and it's mostly cooking. It's like cooking show, like old 1700s hardtack recipes, old 1700 roast duck recipes. Like it's really, really cool, kind of revolutionary time cooking. And he did one episode on coffee and eggs from 1769, and he busts out this old book, and the old recipe says coffee, eggs with coffee. Make a good strong coffee. I just pulled it up while we were talking here. Let it rest to clear as usual. And it's all these like funny wordings with the recipes. And sweeten it with sugar according to your discretion. Beat 6 yolks of an egg with 4 cups of coffee and sift it. Oh my gosh! And he thinks it's gross by the end of it. But I would try this. I might have to give this a try. The egg coffee, at least just to give it a taste and see what it's like.
Yep, every once in a while you have to stop and smell the coffee, right? So
Yeah, exactly. And the egg.
this is the time.
Stop and smell the raw egg. So you said that was a Scandinavian culture. What did you say? That Norway?
Yeah, I think it's Norway.
Fascinating.
I think it's Norwegian.
That makes sense that it would be present in the early times when colonialism was going on over here. Cool, man. So where are we at now? We got through all the dairy, including eggs. If you lump eggs in with dairy. Do you want to move on to sugar and sweeteners?
Sure.
All right, give me the lowdown, because we know that sugar isn't exactly the greatest thing you can put in your body, but some of these alternatives are an even worse option.
Yeah, so 1 teaspoon of sugar is 32 calories. 2 teaspoons they're 464, and you can manage on 64 calories a day if you're just adding 2 teaspoons of sugar to a cup of coffee.
Right on.
So it's when you start getting overboard where somebody says that they put 2 teaspoons of coffee in their sugar and drink it that way. That doesn't really work well.
That's going to be a big health negative.
Yeah. The artificial ones, I have lots of leeriness about. Equal, sweet and low, saccharin. There's a million of them out there. There are people that are very sensitive to the formulation that's in Equal,
Oh, right.
and there's been people that claim that they've gotten seizure disorders from it.
That's right.
So that's aspartame. So I do recommend people stay away from the artificial sweeteners if they can. There is a series of other sweeteners that are supposedly not artificial, like Tuvia, which is a combination. What's it a combination of?
Probably stevia and, let me see, is it Tuvia?
Yeah, Tuvia. It's a combination of stevia.
Oh, I'm sorry, Truvia. Truvia is stevia, and let's see here. It's just made from stevia leaf extract.
Oh, okay, then stevia. So stevia, some people really like. It's not a one-on-one with sugar. You can't do the same thing with sugar as you do with stevia. But some people really like the taste of it. I personally have not been a fan. There's a new sugar on the market, which I'm really a fan of, and I'll tell you about what I did for Thanksgiving this year. And it's called allulose,
Oh, you told me about this.
Allulose.
And this is a really promising sugar alternative.
I think it's the best we have right now.
Wow.
Now, maybe as more research comes out, I'll change my mind.
Right.
But right now, it has some health benefits. It seems to go one-on-one with sugar. This year, I took some skim evaporated milk, a can of organic pumpkin. I took some allulose, the sweetener, instead of sugar. I added some cinnamon, mixed them all together, put it into a glass dish, and baked it. And I virtually had the lowest calorie count pumpkin. And it was delicious.
Nice, man.
It didn't have a crust, so I didn't waste any calories on the crust. And it didn't have any extra sugar because I used allulose, which is an extract from fig. It's the sugar that's found in figs and raisins. And it was just great. So,
interesting. I'm going to check out this allulose. You were right, by the way. On the front of the Truvia box, it says derived from the stevia leaf, but it is mixed with another sweetener, erythritol.
Yeah. So that's still out on the jury, because erythritol is the OL at the end means it's an alcohol.
Right.
It's an alcohol sugar. And I'm just still wary about whether or not people digest it well.
The verdict is out.
Yep. And then there's black. Black coffee tastes sweet enough.
It's interesting because there's a whole nother set of flavorings and additives on the production side that you can find. If you're not getting the kick out of your coffee, maybe you should try some different varieties. Like I have my everyday purity coffee, but someone will send me one that's been fermented with orange peels, or one that's been has some sort of flower fragrance. There's a lot of different flavors. There's a lot of different natural processes, and those processes are, fermenting with vanilla beans. Those processes aren't going to harm your health at all, right, Dr. Steve?
They're not, and you just stepped on my list, and I'm so excited to be able to walk into it now. So I hope everybody has their pencil and paper ready while I go through. Here's what I want somebody to do. I want somebody to send me an email at doc@level1diagnostics.com, and I want that email to say, okay, I went through your challenge, and every other day I added something to my coffee, and here's what I loved. So the first thing to add to the coffee is ginger.
Oh, get out of here.
If you enjoy ginger tea, then you will enjoy ginger coffee.
So what do you add exactly to it? Like, what do you go and buy from the store?
Only a few small slices of ginger.
Whoa.
Before you brew.
Whoa.
So what you do is that if you're brewing, let's say you're brewing in a basket, a drip, You add a couple of slices of ginger with the coffee, ground coffee. You turn on the water, and it's going to go through the ginger just like it's going through the grounds.
Whoa.
And it'll give you a ginger flavor, which is good if you have nausea, which is good if you're pregnant. And ginger, some people love ginger.
There's a ton of health benefits to ginger, man. I'm a big fan of ginger. And you're right, for stomach upset and indigestion and all, it's actually really, really effective. I find it to be incredibly effective.
Yep, I do too. So ginger coffee.
Wow.
The next one is, if you like licorice, star anise.
Oh, interesting. Now that I can see. I could see the licorice blending well with I'm not a huge licorice fan, but I could see those two flavors pairing well.
Yeah, I love licorice, so star anise coffee gives a nice kick every once in a while.
Whoa, just right in with the grounds.
Yep.
Wow.
Now, after you've brewed your coffee, regular coffee, and you're ready to drink it, add a couple of crystals of Himalayan sea salt.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The sea salt gives a real nice taste to the coffee. It's kind of like a good breakfast taste.
I'm going to try that tomorrow morning.
Yeah, good. Good. We've talked about sweeteners. One of the sweeteners we forgot, by the way, is honey.
Oh, that's a great option. Yeah, a little bit of honey in coffee. Underrated.
It is. And we've been buying Manuka honey and using that. And actually, if you're in Spain and you order a Spanish latte, it's going to be milk, a couple of shots of espresso, and honey.
Oh,
That's a Spanish latte.
Right.
If you're in India, there are two things you might want to get in your coffee. One of them is cardamom.
Yes. Great recommendation.
And that one you also have to use just a little, because cardamom really has a kick to it.
Overpowering.
And actually, I need to check this. Cardamom may have some caffeine to it too.
Oh, no kidding. I'll do a quick Google while you continue on. The second thing in India?
Yeah. The second thing in India is making yellow coffee.
Okay. Continue on.
Turmeric.
Oh, duh. Of course. Okay.
Duh. You thought the other thing.
Dude, I thought you were going to set me up for one of your Dr. Coffee razzes.
Nope. Turmeric. Turmeric will turn it yellow, but it's turmeric is just such a great anti-inflammatory, and I hate to give a pass to a company out there, but Cunol makes both CoQ10. They also make a liquid turmeric. So you can buy the liquid turmeric from Cunol. You can get it at BJ's or Costco.
That's powerful stuff right there. That orange liquid.
Yeah, and just add a little bit to your coffee. It's a great way to shake up your coffee.
I'll try that one. Cardamom. Yeah. I thought it was cardamom for all these years. Wow, one of those things.
No, it ends with an M.
Oh wow. Okay. Racing through my head to see when I've said that on air. It's a mild stimulant, nowhere near as strong as caffeine. Doesn't contain caffeine, but also neutralizes some of the stimulating effects of caffeine. So it's a stimulant, but it might balance the caffeine, level you out a little bit.
Yeah. So cardamom's good. I got two more on my list I'd like to share. One of them is vanilla. You said vanilla.
Sure.
And vanilla is great. But you don't have to go get this crappy sugary syrup or this low-cal vanilla syrup that has, aspartame in it.
Yeah.
You can go buy a good bottle of real live vanilla, organic vanilla. Add a couple of drops to your coffee. It'll make it rich, and you may never want to go back to black.
Oh, I love that. Like an organic vanilla extract, one of those type things?
Exactly.
Oh, yes. That sounds great. I think I have some of that up in my baking cabinet. And what's the final one?
The last thing to add to coffee, which is very healthy, most people just don't give its due a day in court, is dark chocolate.
Oh, yes. Now, this is something that some of the European countries will do. They'll throw chocolate in their coffee, and it'll just melt right in.
Yep. They can throw in melted chocolate. You can also get a chocolate powder, a cocoa powder, and add it to your coffee, and it's just a wonderful thing, high in antioxidants.
Yeah, even more antioxidants and probably a little bit of a different delivery system and different variety. I'm interested you didn't bring up. I mean, I'm sure it's this one's actually pretty common, but in Brazil, don't they drink all their coffee with cinnamon? Can't you just add some cinnamon to coffee? Maybe you did bring it up already, actually.
I thought we said cinnamon, but if we
may
didn't,
have.
I apologize, because cinnamon's right up there with one of the things you can add to coffee.
For sure,
yeah.
another great health benefit type spice to add. I think that you covered a pretty comprehensive list here, Dr. Coffee.
I almost did. I got a couple others I'd like to talk to you about.
Please.
One of them is on the chocolate world. The white stuff, the cocoa butter, is wonderful in coffee because it gives that kind of buttery feel, and at the same time it has a mild chocolate taste.
Wow.
So cocoa butter, if you want to use something that's like a dairy product, but not a little cocoa butter melted in.
That sounds delicious.
And then the last two things is that clove. You can use clove in it. The cloves are really strong, so you put just a couple in before you brew it. And then last but not least, you mentioned flowers. Lavender coffee. I use lavender coffee for patients that have headaches, migraine headaches. And we get them essential oil lavender, have them added to their coffee. It calms you down, it chills you out, it may help with headaches. The FDA hasn't cleared my statement for medical, so.
Well, what my understanding is, a lot of those aromatherapies, a lot of those herbal medicines, some of the most powerful compounds in lavender are the terpene alcohols, the plant alcohols, like linalool is a very present terpene alcohol in lavender. I've done a lot of this type of research from alternative health, and I had migraines as a kid and stuff, so I'm right there with you. Do you put it in with the grinds and it makes its way into the brew?
No, we put it into the brew.
Oh, okay. Wow. Holy crap, man. That's really wild. Lavender coffee. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, lavender coffee.
Man, this was a good one. There are a lot of ones I did not expect here.
We also we talked about adding butter, but another hot thing right now is adding collagen to coffee.
Oh, of course, collagen peptides. Yeah, I got to be honest, man. I drink coffee mostly for the health benefits. I mean, now I love it, obviously. And I do add collagen occasionally. I do not like the way it changes the mouthfeel. I think it makes it just a little bit grainy, and they've done better at making these mixes integrate well, but I can just taste. I hate to admit it. I can feel the difference, and I don't like the collagen feel. Do you ever feel that way, or do you just power through because it's good for your health?
No, I don't use collagen.
Oh, there you go. Well, there you go, man.
I don't use collagen. There's just a lot of questions as to whether or not collagen can ever be considered kosher or halal if you're Jewish or Muslim. I'm not sure about whether or not collagen can ever be kosher or halal.
Nice. Glad you brought that up.
And if you're a vegetarian, then collagen's not going to be your thing.
That's exactly right, man. Oh, man. Well, I can't even think of anything else I want to bring up. What a comprehensive list of additives that you've brought to the table today. Pardon the pun, Dr. Coffee.
You know what's really interesting is you're going to have somebody listening to the podcast right now who's just put 4 tablespoons of sugar into their coffee, some whipped cream, a scoop of vanilla ice cream, and some chocolate syrup, and is giving us the middle finger.
Listen, we're here to educate. You guys need to drink your coffee however you take it, but understand that if you're making the smoothie, if you're making the Dairy Queen drive-through smoothie that Dr. Coffee just described, it might not be the most medicinal brew in the world, but that's okay. We're here to teach you the difference. That's the goal, right, Dr. Coffee?
Absolutely.
Love it. Thank you for sharing this time with me today, my friend. This was an awesome episode.
Thank you.
Everyone listening, stay subscribed, stay tuned. We'll catch you next time on the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast. This is Dr. Coffee and Jordan Rivers signing off, saying have an extraordinary day out there, everybody. Bye-bye.